Welcome back. Brown Bet
Yeah,
Bets,
why not?
everybody. Powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. Sorry about that, folks. Seeing some weird stuff behind the scenes. I'm Alex Christenson, and joining me, as always, from Minnesota. Did you get to watch any of that game last night, Andy? How did it
I,
go?
I did I did stay up. That's why I'm tired. I had to have a double espresso. It's like the five not five guys, the In and Out burger of espressos. It's a double double because the machine at the gas station makes a double, but you can fit more than that in the cup. So I just hit the button twice. So now I'm woke up. But yeah, I stayed up. That was a fun game. Almost a Suns cover. I didn't shoot for the middle. Just stayed on the under. Under looked a little sketchy at points in the third quarter. But under 222, under 223, there was it got steamed down to like 219 and a half and then popped back up. So congrats to us for winning one final NBA bet and also the future bets. I retweeted a still shot of that. We had the what was your good one? The Suns to win game one and lose the series plus 375.
Yep.
And then also Bucks minus 1.5 games, the series handicap. So they had to have this one at plus a
I think it was
bunch,
250 or something.
250 ish. So a couple of nice plus money wagers on the series that were much better than the actual series price. So good for Alex, good for the Bucks, good for Giannis, good for the city. It's I've been there. It's somebody was making fun of this in one of the chats. So like, there's nothing to do in Milwaukee but drink. I'm like, that is
And eat
pretty.
sausage.
There's pretty much true. Like that's all they've ever done there. Great karaoke bar I went to out there. That was a lot of fun. Otherwise, good job, City of Wisconsin, State of or City of Milwaukee, State of Wisconsin. Either way,
It
I'm sure they're
was
all celebrating.
Yeah, I mean, it's circled back to your point on the unders. It started looking a little dicey in the third quarter, but as somebody that was watching the live totals, I think it only got back up to like 217, 218. I think was the peak point. The low point was 201 and a half. I think we closed like at 203, something like that. So almost everybody with all their unders hit, even if you had live. Hopefully you had some alt unders. And what a freaking game by Giannis. We continue to hear
Yeah,
more and more about him, possibly being sick the night before. Throw all that stuff out the window. The 50 points was impressive to me, but it was the blocks. Every single time Phoenix came down the lane with a good opportunity, there's Giannis out of nowhere. This blur comes across the lane, hand, a ball gets just whacked away. And I know he only had 5 or 6, but they just seemed really impactful. And again, in that third quarter, late in the game, when the rest of the Bucks started to look nervous, you saw them in that second quarter lose the big lead, going to the halftime down. Giannis came out and scored, I think, like the first 7, maybe 10 points for them in that quarter. And you could just see it was like, all right, I don't care what's happening. We're not losing this game. I am taking care of business. He was attacking the basket. He was getting to the rim. The way he attacks offensive rebounds, honestly, is one of the most unique things about him. You think about a lot of star players, it's not really something you think about when you think about LeBron James, and you think about even big men like Shaquille O'Neal, like Will Chamberlain and stuff like that. But you watch him, just his relentless fury at the basket, just going up over and over and over again. It was really impressive. So hats off to him. I mean, that's really great to watch somebody come in like him, really grow and become something. I mean, that was just super fun.
yeah, it was great. And yeah, like somebody in the chat said, he is live streaming from Chick-fil-A where he ordered 50 chicken minis. I don't even think I could eat that many. That's a ton. He's a big dude though.
We could
I
try.
have eaten I have eaten a dozen of those. Those are so good. Got Chick-fil-A for lunch. Does sound pretty prime right now. Yeah, so
I thought
I'm
we were having
almost
gyros.
yeah, I should get a euro because of the old Greek freak doing it up.
Good year for Greece.
Uh yeah, three cheers for Greece. It's football season now. Football season has officially started because the NBA, NHL is over and the MLB just grinds on for like another 18 months. But before that, it is the NBA draft. We enjoyed this last year. I enjoyed the NFL draft even more, but this is a good one too. I've made some money on this over the years. The draft order was decided a bit ago with, I forgot about this, Detroit. Detroit had won the lottery. Minnesota had to what was the Minnesota trade? Was that the Russell?
I believe that was the D'Angelo Russell trade.
The D'Angelo,
Yeah,
that's
that's
worth
it.
it.
That's
Good
what it was.
job.
That's how that
You
pick
didn't
gets
want
to
that
Golden
seventh
State.
pick. There you go. Good job, Gophers. Good
Good
job,
job, Wood
Timberwolves. But
Dogs.
yeah, yeah. Detroit, Houston, Cleveland, Toronto, Orlando, Oklahoma City, Golden State from Minnesota, Orlando again from Chicago, Sacramento, New Orleans, Charlotte, San Antonio, Indiana, and Golden State again. So that's the lottery draft order. Most of that, obviously, the second round doesn't matter unless you have some draft props. Really nothing to watch here. It's mostly excitement for the first like 5-6 picks. And then if you have a team that's drafting or if you're a fan, that's all there is to it. Although we do like to bet on this. And you made some good money on this last year.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun last year. I mean, the order, it's going to be nuts. This is going to be a crazy draft, and we'll keep talking about this over the next few days. You look at some of those positions. You don't see Oklahoma State from 14. I'm sorry, Oklahoma City from 14 and above there. They've got a handful of picks. You see Orlando's got 2 in the top 10. There's going to be trades. I think there are going to be people moving up. I'm really curious to see what happens with that second pick. Is that going to be Houston? Is that going to be someone else? We'll see what Cleveland does. So the draft order is really interesting. But like you said, we love to bet on these things. We've got a bunch of stuff. And this is probably just going to be something where every couple of days, every day or so, I'm just going to have another few. Books are pretty slow opening these. I think if you live in regulated states besides Pennsylvania, thanks, Pennsylvania, you can bet these draft props. I specifically am using a couple offshores and a local, if you will. So let's jump into some picks here. We've got some over-unders. Those are most of the markets that have popped up. And then we've got some draft position things. We'll start with Kai Jones here. Shout out to my buddy D Money. If you don't follow Dwayne on Twitter, great for football, college basketball, golf, handicapping, all that stuff. He turned me on to this one. Kai Jones under 14.5. As I look, Kai Jones, sophomore from Texas. One of the main ways I approach this, Andy, and I'm sure I've shared my sheet with you a bit. I try to go through all the different mock drafts, and I pick about 5 or 6 that I think are the most reliable and try to look for irregularities there. Be really careful when you're looking at mock drafts. Make sure you read a few of the paragraphs on a few players, and that should be enough to give you a feel for whether or not they're just taking information from other places or whether this is kind of their own source of information. And I like to compare the ones that seem to be more their own reporting versus taking from other places and try to watch and see as people catch up. And Kai Jones has been somebody that, if you will, more the originator mock drafts, the ones that to me strike me as having their own reporting. He is starting to drop down on those. He's down to the 9th pick, which I believe puts him with the Sacramento Kings there. Basically, every draft here has him below that 14th pick except for 2, and one of them is a big outlier. They have him at 22. So really like him at under 14.5. Would play this at under 14. Probably draw the line right there. If you see under 13.5 with plus money, that's probably okay too. Another player here, Corey Crispert, and this is one that's I hesitated a little bit playing the under, Andy, because we have a senior, and seniors don't tend to rise in drafts. But what we have working for here, Mr. Crispert is one of the best shooters in the draft, if not the best shooter, especially just in terms of pure shooting, just being on the floor by himself, shooting baskets and all those warm-up trials. People are going to watch a video of him and just get absolutely enamored with him. Again, go back and look at my mock drafts. His average position is right around 12. So I think under 14.5 is nice. Now, this next one is a little more about what I was talking about in terms of trades. If the Houston Rockets keep the second pick, I'm going to lose this bet. I don't think they're going to take Mobley. But at plus 200, I think there's a great chance someone trades up for that pick and tries to get Mobley. I think Mobley, Cade Cunningham's going to be the number 1 pick. Any report that you hear otherwise for the next week or so is absolutely subterfuge. Don't pay any attention to it. The number 2 pick is where it gets interesting. You look at Houston, they already have Christian Wood. The group that they have now running the team has been a little hesitant in the past to draft big men. They're really looking at Jalen Green, I think. Maybe another name. I think Moody actually was another name I heard them talking about, but probably not going to be Mobley. But as I said, I think someone straight into this pick, and he is really, to me, the second best player in this draft. It's Cade Cunningham, it's him, and then kind of the rest of the guys. So I think someone moves up, and with that in mind, I was able to get plus 200. This is down, I think, like plus 160 some places. That's probably still okay. I draw the line right around there. And then just before we got on, we were talking a little bit, and I don't understand what everybody really likes about this James Bouknight fella. Seen some interesting reporting on him. There might be a team or two that's really enamored with him. So instead of trying to attack his over-under, there's a couple players that we've got one right here, Keon Johnson specifically, that I feel pretty good about being drafted before Mr. Booknight. As I look, Keon Johnson, a freshman from Tennessee, looks like he's locked into that 8th or 9th pick. Really, nobody else has him above there. Whereas, you start to go look at Booknight, he is anywhere from 7 to 20 in some of these mock drafts. So this is one where, instead of trying to take a Booknight under at plus money, I'm going to take a player that I'm almost certain is going to be going in that 8-9 spot, as opposed to taking Booknight, say, under 10.5. So we'll take Keon Johnson plus 25 to be drafted before James Booknight.
Yeah, Booknight was this, he's the guy, he came back and from injury or whatever, COVID, I don't even remember at this point. But I remember, like, all of a sudden he's just all over the screen. Like, he's all over my Twitter feed. Yeah, he had, here's a huge dunk, and there's a big, it's like, yeah, well, it's.
As I mentioned before we got started, he reminds me a lot of Jamal Crawford.
Yeah.
He's going to be instant offense. He's going to be a microwave guy, if you're familiar with that expression. But I'm not. That's not the guy you want with a top 5 to 10 pick in a really good draft. A couple more we've got. This is another, Josh Giddey to be drafted before Kai Jones. Again, just taking a look at all the drafts here, the consensus spot for Giddey seems to be right around 12, 12 or 13. There's actually some people that have him as low as 10. You look at Kai Jones, he's pretty much outside the lottery everywhere, kind of a fringe lottery pick around that 14. So happy to get Giddey here at plus 100. Usman Garuba, he is a foreigner. He is going to be playing in the Olympics for the Spanish team here. But over 16.5 looks like a nice number to me. There is a little bit of risk. Maybe he comes out and has a really strong Olympics, but looking into it, he's not going to get a lot of playing time. It doesn't look like he gets more than 10 to 15 minutes a night for the Spanish team. So I don't think he's really going to get the showcase needed to drive his draft position down. And looking at mock drafts, he's right around 18. There are a couple people. There is one draft that has him 15. I think there's one that had him 14 the other day, but all those numbers are rising. I think he's going to be right around the 17th, 18th pick. So over 16.5 looks pretty good for me there. Zaire Williams over Sharif Cooper. Getting used to some of the names here. I'm not so good with those. Again, as I start to look at some of these drafts, Cooper looks like he's going to be in the 20s, whereas Williams is pretty much cemented between 14 and 17 just about everywhere. Going back to Giddey again, we kind of know where he's going to be. Alperen Sengun, this is another one where, if I lose this one, Sengun is going to be somebody that gets scooped up like at 10 or 11 before anyone would even consider Giddey. But looking at all my drafts outside of one that has Sengun in the lottery, he's like the 16th, 17th pick. I'm looking at Giddey again, right around 12. It looks like he's 10 or 13 there. So a good group of stuff there to get us started. There'll be more coming. And honestly, we might end up going against some of these. A lot of these prices move quite a bit. So make sure that if you bet these, try to keep track of what you bet, what number you get, so that later on, if I come back and tell you to bet on the other side, you make sure that you're in the right range. So a good group for us to get us started today. We've got about a week or so. The draft is on Thursday, and we'll keep adding this as we go along. But, Andy, do you know what day it is?
Giddey going 10th would be nice.
It would be nice.
Oh, I do know what day it is. It is Wednesday. It is Hump Day. It is Win Total Wednesday. And just as a quick aside, too, because I'm going to talk about the deep dive a little here. The deep dive will be a little earlier today. Drew had a bit of a conflict. He has like a furries convention or something this afternoon. So we will be recording a little earlier. It will be 6:30 East. We'll still be live. We'll still be live on the YouTube channel. We'll be discussing Tampa Bay and the Saints tonight. But Tampa Bay and the Saints. It will be earlier, though. We will be going earlier. It will be 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. So check that out. But yeah, from last week, and I'd encourage you to go watch this, go listen to it if you want some more information on the football team. But for my Win Total Wednesday, I did find this at even money, and this is in my account now. It is the Washington football team under. I know we had one very hopeful fan. He's a listener. He sticks with us all year, but I felt bad because he was very hopeful. We were hopeful too. It's one of those teams where we were hopeful before we dug in and really said, it's an easier, division. It could be, but if the Dallas offense kicks it up a notch, if things work out in New York, if the Eagles get things figured out in the post-Wentz era, all of a sudden maybe it's not an easy division. And again, on their schedule, at Buffalo, at Denver, at Green Bay, obviously at Philly, Dallas, New York, but a couple of back-to-backs with some tough teams. And then like we joked around with the Final Four last year, which they don't call it the Final Four. That's only college basketball. But the Final Four of the NFL was Tampa, Green Bay, the Chiefs, and the Buffalo Bills. And all four of those teams found their way onto Washington's schedule. They do not have an easy schedule in any way, shape, or form. Their bye is semi-neutered by the fact that they're coming off a bye. Yeah, they play Tampa Bay. Like, it doesn't help. A lot of these situational spots are getting neutered by that fact. So it's not an easy schedule. And if the Saints are decent, they play the Saints. So they play the Chargers right off the bat if we think that offense continues to play well, and that team has a lot of potential. So just nothing easy about this schedule.
And I don't want to get too trendy here, but what if you just blindly bet every NFC East team under 8 wins for like the last 3 years?
Yeah.
What do you like? Worst case, you're going 2-2 on all those, and at least one of them's probably an alt or something. It's 3-1 most years. Last year, you go 4-0.
And that's the thing. Like, just defense, like this defense carried this team to a division title. That's what sucks. Like, they have a first place schedule, and I think you're right. Like, betting like 4-0 last year on some of these win totals, but yeah, it's just defense just doesn't matter like it used to with all the changes we've seen in the NFL over the last few years. Like, the defense was fun, it was great, it did help them out a lot last year with an easier schedule, but a defense is not going to carry you with this sort of schedule if the offense isn't going to come around. And full disclosure, I have a MVP ticket on Fitzmagic just in case, just because it was a big number, and that's a fun bet to make. But yeah, my average win total for this team is like, and again, make the joke, it is like 6.9, nice, but I have them right a shy of 7 if everything hashes out the way I look at it. So not seeing 8.5 should be the number. It's actually juiced to the over as well. People are bullish on this team. So I have under 8.5 at even money, and I will have another one next week.
I'd like to talk to somebody who's betting this over. I would really like to hear the case for the over, because like you said, I mean, I totally agree with everything you said, and it's hard for me to think of any positives. I mean, this team's really going to struggle to put up points, I think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just Fitzmagic and Scary Terry for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns a game or something.
Good, a couple young good players, but it's a very tough schedule for this offense to come around with, especially with who knows what you're getting from Fitzpatrick. You have good Fitzmagic, you have bad Fitzmagic, and then and somebody asked, is next week's total going to be Washington's alt under? Alt unders, the prices aren't great so far on stuff that's coming on. I'm still waiting for a few other books. Now that Circa will be live in Iowa soon. Boy, and you talk about that too. You and me are kind of in the same boat on these draft props. Iowa will not hang draft props either. Iowa and Pennsylvania will not let you bet on these draft props. It has
How
to
are we
be
both in such lame states? Well, you're in Minnesota, but you're close to a lame state.
There is some wording with some of these where it has to be like a sporting event, like something that's decided on the field. If it's decided off the field, like a draft, they won't take action on it. So it's stupid. I'm gonna drive to Illinois. I don't know what's going on. Let's get in.
That's right, people in Iowa, legislators in Iowa. Your money is going to Illinois. You can have Andy's money.
It'd be funny. I should be writing letters to my legislators in Iowa. Like, why are these coming from Minnesota? What's going? This guy can't even vote here.
Just take videos of you driving. Hi, fine folks of Iowa. I'm coming, but
I'm here. So, Palermo, huh?
You mentioned it's kind of wonky. We're in a transition period. That's why we have tennis. No matter what happens, Andy, tennis persists. That's what's so great about it. Nothing in Gdynia. I'm sorry that you don't get to say that today. We did get our dog and our over earlier, though. Bondar won. We got the over 20.5. That was pretty fun. Similar strategy going back to Palermo here tomorrow. This will be tomorrow. And the Palermo matches have been a little later. I don't know what it is about the Italians. They don't like to play tennis too early in the morning. So these are actually on.
Have you ever had a double espresso? You will have to go to the bathroom after that. You can't have that much coffee and then play tennis right afterwards.
That's probably what it is. Any little bit of a break. But this will be on, I believe, probably just before the show starts tomorrow. If not, while we're on air, we'll see how it goes. Francesco Di Lorenzo, a young player, kind of a real grinder here. Likes being on the clay. Zhang, someone I talked about earlier, we faded her. Unfortunately, that didn't go so well. Our girl won the first set and lost the match. But Zhang here, very uncomfortable on clay. Again, still getting priced, I think, based on her rank, based on what she does in a lot of other surfaces besides these. I think Di Lorenzo here I have much closer to plus 250. So happy to take a little bit of her at plus 300. And the total here, both of these women play very long matches. Go back and look. There's a good chance we see 3 sets here, but it's a little hard for me to tie that down. And I didn't love the price there. Take a look. I mean, if you have over 2.5 sets at like plus 180, maybe plus 170, take a little bit of that, but I didn't have that number, so I don't know if it exists. Over 20 games, though, is really nice. I think there's a great chance we see a 7-5, a 7-6 here in one of these sets. Again, also a good chance we see 3. I would have hung at 21 myself, so 20, 20 and a half is okay. Even 21 plus juice, if you're looking to sell a game and get a little ahead of the VIG there, is just fine, too. So Di Lorenzo and the over tomorrow.
A little light on tennis, but we'll get there. And there'll be more tennis to go. And like you said, we'll have more of these draft props as we go as well. Normally what I say when I do this on Wednesdays, I say these are all my round 1 bets. I say this is everything I'm going to be betting for round 1. And a couple sports books that I like to use for this have not had the respect that I think the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company Open should have. So I don't have all my round 1 bets available to me right now. I've bet what I can so far. What?
I didn't know that's what
mining and
the 3M stood for.
manufacturing. Yeah, it's and the mining and manufacturing. They make Post-it notes and Scotch Card. That's what you think when you think mining. Well, it's an old company. And yes, the 3M Open, I did play 4 so far. I probably will have more. If I have more, they will obviously be in the blog I put out this afternoon on BETSPERTS. But yeah, Maverick McNeely, I talked about him last night on Approaching the Green. Kind of a garbage irons player, but the rest of his game is conducive to playing here. I'm going to fade Tom Lewis. Knox over Adam Hadwin. Adam Hadwin, maybe the only Canadian I'm against lately, but Knox over Hadwin minus 120. Cam Davis over Fratelli. Fratelli played really, really well at the Open. He's a guy I've faded quite a bit. If you want to use that narrative at all, basically like guys who played deep into Sunday and had to fly back to Minnesota, I guess maybe a little jet lag. I've seen some takes against Usti, especially in DFS. He's going to be lower owned than most people think he should be, but Fratelli, nothing there. It's just my numbers, but I guess that doesn't hurt that he played deep into Sunday. And then Stewie Sink over last year's champion, Mr. Thompson. This number is clearly off. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like this one at all. I make Sink like minus 150 in this matchup. But we all know what Stuart Sink can do on a Friday. So maybe a round 1 bet isn't too bad of a deal. Stuart Sink in a full tournament matchup isn't what I'm going to be after this weekend. Like I said, Approaching the Green last night with Pam. We went over a bunch of stuff, had a few outrights, some props, a few other things. Had a good week last week, obviously. Hoping to continue that this week. And like I said again, I will have a blog with everything I'm betting for the 3M on BETSPERTS this afternoon. I'll post that up on Twitter too, so you can click that link. And as long as you're clicking links, click the link at the top of our pinned feed and go sign up for a WynnBET account. Get a YETI, get a $500 risk-free bet. Have a cool Wednesday, and I'll check you back here tomorrow. We'll do some more betting.